Okay, Hamzah, talk to us about how we decided to try to bounce back against West Ham. How did we line up?
Yeah, a big change in this match.
Was there really?
Yeah. Salah, despite the stuff that we discussed, in him producing two quite good performances without goals or assists to show for it, was dropped. With Szoboszlai moving over to the right. So I'll go from the back as well, because there is a key change at the back as well. So there's a few. Alisson's back first of all, because Mamadash really covered for him while he was ill against PSV. Then from right to left we had Gomez, Konate, Van Dijk, and Kirkez. So Gomez, he's been on the bench for quite a while, and as was reported earlier this week, he's been taking injections. I think he's been having them for some time. And so that's meant it's been a little bit difficult, especially with Leone being out, just to make sure when and where you deploy him. Because if he's having these injections, you just want to be a bit wary with him in training. And if he's not training, then you don't want to play him, but you still want him available. So it's a difficult spot that he's been in, but he's tried to keep himself available the whole time. And at this point, Slot said, okay, we're going to give him a go. And there's a few reasons for that. One, he's great at passing the ball forwards. Two, he's a good defender, quite athletic, can move up and down the line. Three, he's very good in the air, and if teams are going long against you, perfect, right? So yeah, there's a number of elements that speak to him beyond his qualities as a person, and often with the players.
Can I add one more? One more is that we've got four midfielders that were, we've got five. Well, we've got 8 games in 24 days. So those four midfielders can't play all the time, and we've been playing the four midfielders the previous 2 games, and so one of them had to not play, and the only way for that to happen is to play somebody else right back.
And Jones, traditionally, he's one that you have to be a little bit more careful with, right?
Yes.
Spikes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the back four. In midfield, we've got Gravenberg, McAllister, and Wirtz, and Szoboszlai as well. So Szoboszlai's playing off the right in pretty much Salah's role. Not as many sort of box touches as you'd expect from a Salah performance, but as in he was there on the right. And then Gakpo on the left and Isak up top through the middle. A changed team. Wirtz brought back fairly quickly after his injury. Slot admitted as such, and he said there's a little bit of a risk playing him and Isak. But when it gets to this point of the season with these results, I think just finding some sort of some positivity is important. So I think he took the gamble there. It worked in this match, but we'll see if they're sort of flagging in the next few matches. But yeah, quite a few changes.
So, Joe Gomez, right? I know you know a lot about Joe Gomez. I don't know how much you're allowed to say. I know you want to say, but talk to us about why a player gets injections and what that means for how he trains and when he can be considered for how he plays. Why might Joe Gomez be getting injections, for example?
So there's a variety of reasons, a variety of injections that one might get, but people might...
Slot said in his knee, which doesn't sound great to me.
No, so just to expand, I might actually do a piece on this, but to expand on if you have significant trauma in the knee...
Patella, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dislocated patella?
Yeah, patella rupture. Patella tendon rupture, or an ACL, which he's had both. I'm not saying that in this regard. I'm not giving any details away. That what is normal, what is really common in both of those instances, is that you get microfractures are at the top of the tibia. So there are these little cracks that occur, which then over the course of the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years start to become arthritic. So if those cracks turn, they start to ossify. They start to get extra bone on them because you're always body's always trying to repair.
Is that what you hear about bone spurs? Yeah.
They get little kind of roughness on there, which can cause pain, and it can cause swelling in there. So that would be really common. So it's very possible in this setting that you'll get painkilling injections for that. With Joe in the summer, he was doing some specific extra work in the summer on increasing his power and speed, and then he was thrust into full pre-season training, and over let's say overloaded a little bit on some of his tendons. So muscles get fatigued and tendons get chronically fatigued really quickly, and you have to modify one against the other so that the tendon can catch up and repair to catch up the muscles. And it's possible that the tendon still gets sore, so he needs cortisone to hopefully to alleviate some of the inflammation.
So the primary reason for receiving injections will be pain relief. Yeah.
Pain relief, so, or it could be, or it's possible with the language issue, there could be some level of aspiration where you're taking out fluid.
Yeah, draining it. Yeah. So obviously we talked about it last season with Kay Gordon. He was in this loop as well about not being able to train, not being able to play, to having how does that cycle? How do you break that cycle? That whole the management. You can't train if you've had injections because they don't. Well, first of all, why can't you train if you had an injection? Why is the practice not to let you train if you've had the injection?
My feeling is that mostly it's British tradition of medicine. Within medicine, rest means nothing. Rest means inactivity, and that's if you will have had experience of this. That if you're ill, you'll get told to rest, go to bed.
Yes.
And I just think it's part of that just historic traditional medical practice. I'm not entirely sure it's the way to go. It's definitely not the way to go in sports. And there'll be a variety of different inputs that decide this. You have to constantly, you're weighing up the acute against chronic load. But then when somebody has tendon issues, those ratios go off against, they are much more erratic compared to...
Gomez will almost have his own scale of fatigue index which is completely different to everybody else's, right? Yeah,
exactly. And it comes without the research. It's specific to him.
Because there's not a big enough sample of these players to monitor, is there?
Exactly. So they have to constantly stick their finger in a fire and go, is this hot enough? Is it this hot? And I think we're currently there with Isaac, to be fair, as well.
Interesting. Okay, so there was fans have been calling for Joe Gomez to play for quite a while, including us on this podcast. We've been saying, at least he should be in there for situational starts. I think we phrased it last time we talked about situational starts, not every start, because he can't play every game, can he, Si? And that's so. What I want to say was, we'll come on to the game in a minute, but Joe Gomez played really well. We won, right? The right back's been a problem all season long. Looked a lot better in this game. Mainly because a lot also helped by the fact that West Ham didn't attack down that side. But anyway, different story. What does it mean going forward to Joe Gomez? Because now the clamour is going to be from the fans. They want Joe Gomez to play against Sunderland. They want Joe Gomez to play against Leeds. They want Joe Gomez to play against Inter. What does your gut feeling tell you now about how much Joe can actually play from this point onwards if we're not going to put him into a big relapse with this tendon issue?
So forget any insider knowledge, any knowledge of working in football. If you just go off what's happened so far, if you can just read maths and look at numbers and see what's happened so far, he can't play tomorrow. That if he hasn't built a fitness base because he couldn't train every day, he can't possibly have a high enough chronic load that he can sustain 90 minutes twice in 7 days. Already going at 90 is already a massive spike in his load. So starting again is almost guaranteeing he's going to pick up something in the tendons that were sore.
Yeah, which means then he's out for a few weeks anyway.
Yeah, so just for reference for people that don't pay enough attention to the acute chronic load stuff that we talk about all the time, is that this is going to take 3 weeks. It's a minimum of 3 weeks before he can play 3 games in a week. Yeah.
So Hamzah, on the sports sciencey bit, any questions for Si on Joe?
No, I think that's pretty clear, I think.
Yeah, really brilliant stuff. Si. Absolutely brilliant. Hamzah, talk to us about how we won this match especially in the first half. Talk to us about our performance. Because it was a very unusual match compared to our recent standards. I'll put it to you. Very different, a very unusual Premier League game.
Well, yeah, so it was actually a weird game, but the key thing, obviously, is that Liverpool didn't concede in the first half. They didn't concede all match, and that affected game state by a lot, right? So yeah, that is the key thing to think about with this match. Liverpool
Yeah.
limited the quality of chances that West Ham created, but at the same time, West Ham are a really poor team at the moment. And so we've discussed before what is the sort of the method to attack Liverpool, long balls, that sort of stuff. And going into this match, that's sort of what I expected. And I think most people would have expected Nuno, he's alert to this sort of thing, using long balls against Liverpool. But this was interesting and weird for because their long ball rate wasn't particularly high. I think it was around 14% when I checked last.
It was high in the. It was high in the first half. It was high in the first half. 22% in the first.
So did you say it decreased compared to their average rate?
Yeah, it went down from their average rate 2%.
So
Crazy.
remember that everyone has been going long against Liverpool, and then in this match you have the opposite happening, right?
Yeah.
And we've discussed, and it's not like Nuno doesn't know this, because Nuno last season did that. He went long against Liverpool, so it's not like he's ignored all the pre-existing evidence. It's that something different happened in this match. Now, I missed a bit of the first half. I tried to catch up, so I don't have a full thesis. But from my feeling, I think Liverpool decided to press less and dropped off more. The reason being that if a team, well, first of all, when you press, that gives the opportunity for the team that you're playing against to go long. And Liverpool have struggled with defending the second and third balls. And one of the reasons for that is when you're pressing, you're a little bit stretched. However, if you drop into a deep, more compact shape, maybe a mid block or a low block, you're more compact. That means you're better positioned to pick up the second and third balls. And I think that's sort of what Liverpool were and Slot were thinking about with this match. So what they did, they said, okay, we're not going to press you as much. Even though we've discussed before, Liverpool are pressing less this season because teams are going long. What they're trying to do is force those presses. And in this match, they just went, okay, you're going to have the ball. For that reason, we're a little bit worried about your long passing. And the other reason, we're not worried at all about what you can do with the ball. You don't have really creative players that we're worried about if you've got the ball in the defensive third or the middle third, because, well, Paquetá is very good, Bowen's very good, Mateus Fernandes is quite good, but beyond that,
he's energetic. Fernandes is energetic. Yeah, he's a runner. Yeah.
Yeah. So you allow them to have the ball. And I think that's sort of what Liverpool did, and it's worked quite well. So I had a quick look, and this isn't particularly scientific because I've had to normalize and per 90 for players that played 75 minutes or 68 minutes or whatever. But I had a look through the stats bomb data to have a look at normal sort of pressing volume, counter pressing volume for Liverpool this season, and compared position to position. So what's the striker usually average compared to in this match? So Isak compared to the normal striker, the left winger to the left winger, Salah to Szoboszlai, etc. And I found that generally the pressures in this match were down. There was a little bit of an increase from Szoboszlai compared to Salah. Okay. Szoboszlai is a particularly intense presser. We know that. You'd expect that. But when you compare Szoboszlai to his normal average, he's down, right? So he pressed a bit more than Salah, but not more than he usually does. Had a slight increase for Gakpo, and that was it. Everyone else was down. And I'm on about the striker and the centre midfielders because I'm not really looking at the defenders. The counter press was slightly better, I think. But remember, we're thinking about counter pressing in deep areas when the first ball's already been sort of contested, and you've got a more compact team. You'd expect it to be better, right? Because the players are nearby. So yeah, I think the improvement of the counter press in those situations was a consequence of the players being nearer to each other, which came from the way that Liverpool set up without the ball, rather than necessarily the counter press just being much more improved compared to recent matches because it was very poor in recent matches. So yeah, a few kind of interesting things going on here. It worked for this match. I don't think you could do this a lot more because there aren't that many teams that you'd be happy to allow to have the ball, and I think Liverpool are better when they want to be a team that takes the ball, that demands it, that can press. And they, in terms of their recruitment, and their planning for the next few seasons, they still expect the league to be one where you can press, where you can use technical players and their skills to break teams down rather than sort of long balls and set pieces. So yeah, a few really interesting things here, but I'm not sure this is the blueprint for all the matches going forward. Just to beat West Ham.
I think I agree with you. I don't think this is a blueprint for anything. I think it was a plan to stop the bleeding and get a result in this one match, and then let's go on to the next match against London. Let's go on to the next match against Leeds, and then see if we're in a slightly better better place, more points, higher up the table, less pressure on the manager, less pressure on the players. And I think this was more of a plan just to get out of a fucking hole, a fucking big hole. Yeah. Anyway, before I come to you, Si, I'll just do the match stats from the Doc stats pack. This is the last one for a couple of weeks. So possession was 56 to us. Total shots 9-7, 16 shots in a match. Wow, crazy. 5 shots on target to 0. Only 1 shot in the 6-yard box. That was the Isaac acrobatic one that the keeper saved. 3 big chances to 0. XG was 1.3 to us, 0.3 to West Ham. And threat to EPV conversion was 55% to us and 24% to West Ham. That's more what we want to see. And the I should have added that the XG on target for us was 1.9. So we turned 1.3 expected into 1.9 XG on target. A lot of that's going to be from the Isaac goal, which was thread in the eye of a needle stuff. The match probabilities, the most likely result was Liverpool 1-0, and that was 31% of the time, which is that's a staggeringly large number for match result. 31% of the time 1-0. Liverpool 67%. Draw 26, West Ham just 8%. That's more, again, that's exactly what we want to see, and we haven't done enough of this season. I just realised I never did the Monte Carlo for the PSV game, so let me just get that, because that's not so fun. another extreme situation. So Monte Carlo for PSV was most likely match result was 2-2, which was 10% was 2-2. After that, next most likely was 3-2 Liverpool, believe it or not, 8%. In this game, PSV 43% Liverpool, 34% PSV, 23%